First, thank you guys so much for your time. Tim, I guess I'll start with you. Well, you and Jennifer, you guys can probably answer this. How do y'all source the short stories that you guys choose to adapt into episodes for the show?
These all come from stories he read. So they all come from that guy.
I like to, reading is probably my favorite occupation with my clothes on. I'm reading all the time, and I particularly like short stories because you can get in, you can get out. They pack a punch, and so it was kind of a natural evolution for us to want to do shorts. But I find them and we put them up on the wall, and then it becomes sort of a group conversation about what's the right mix and what are the best ones. And that's where having Jennifer come in on season 2 is, it really changes the conversation, because there may be things I pick and she'd go, nah, I think that's not as good as this one, or this one's better. What if we think about that?
But believe me, my taste is not like overly,
No. But for instance,
got dark flavors going on.
But you picked Pops. You came in, you read all the stories, and she's like, this Pop Squad one, it really sticks with me. It's really, so Pop Squad was in. Pop Squad's in the mix. And then you go, okay, well, what goes well? What am I going to pair the Merlot of Pop Squad with? I got to do some steak. I got to do some steak and potatoes, or I'm going to stop the metaphor there.
But it's a tough one, because there's far too many stories. Far too many. There's so many, and the order changed by the day.
Oh, wow. Okay. How many, just like a random guesstimate, how many short stories do you whittle it down from, just off the top of your head?
I can tell you, because I just had them up on the board from season 1 to it includes season 1, season 2, and everything we haven't done that I pulled that I think is interesting. There is 107 stories up on the board.
Wow.
that I think have some potential. And I just found 2 more this weekend. There's a really cool one about a sub.
Awesome.
So there's just, it's kind of an endless supply. And I have like 1,000 short story books on my Kindle. Find them all the time.
Cool. I love a good short story. Neil Gaiman's one of my favorite writers. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I love his short story collection. Jennifer, how do you decide which director that you're going to choose or pair up for each episode?
It really is a process of whittling from what is a specialization, what are these directors known for, and then trying to match them with the stories. I mean, if it's hard enough finding the stories, it's really hard trying to find the director and the style to match the stories, and making sure we have a variety across the board in looks and tone and everything. Because you may have an amazing director, but we have 5 directors that do sort of similar things, and you can't work with them because we don't have the story to match. So it was agonizing. There were so many amazing choices. But ultimately, it comes down to the mix, about making sure we have the right mix.
Okay, cool. And Jennifer, this is another question for you, actually. Well, actually, for both of you, because you guys are both so entrenched in
We
this.
don't mind if you want to. You can specialize in Jennifer questions if you like.
Don't feel bad. Just because she's done so much in animation, but you both have it.
She has lots more answers.
Yeah, animation doesn't quite get the I would say the respect it deserves sometimes. Not even sometimes, a lot of the times.
I'll say all the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most. Okay. I was trying to be. It is something that is infuriating, I think, to creatives in general, but really the animators and everyone. How does the show challenge that notion of animation not being as complex a storytelling medium, and why is animation actually so important to storytelling?
I think in the West, a lot of the time animation has been relegated to family entertainment, where you have to simplify things so that little kids could understand it, or it's purely comedy for adults. And of course, anime, the whole generation has grown up on anime at this point. I think part of the reason why this show is exciting is because we've grown up on it. Now we've seen it and we can make stuff. And that is our, we have seen animation being as complex, as challenging, as multi-layered and adult as anything else. And so we want to see that. So now we make it. So a show like this not only gives you adult stories that is at the level of anything that you see in live action, but you see a level of quality in the animation that is right up there with the complexity of the story. And I think that sort of gives adults sort of permission to enjoy it and not feel in any way they're watching a kids program.
I dig it. I dig it. Tim, your directorial debut was, of course, the amazing Deadpool. I should have worn that shirt. That's the shirt I should have worn. I have a Deadpool T-shirt. I don't know why I'm just now.
That's all right. That's all right. I would have thought you were pandering. I'm glad you didn't.
Okay, yeah. There you go. So it was a smart move. The universe has my back. So after you directed Deadpool, did you sort of have the thought of like, okay, now I can do whatever I want? Like this is how the show got about, Love Death Robots, or like after you got that acclaim, what made you help you decide what to do with it? And then how did that lead you to this?
Well, I'll tell you a really brief story. It's opening weekend of Deadpool, right? And it was a really strange thing where everybody thought the movie was going to open at some reasonably low number and it just blew up, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm getting phone calls from a lot of people going, "Oh my God, this is amazing! You're so lucky." And I'm going, "Yes, yes, yes." But then I get a call from David Fincher, who is a friend from a long time, and David goes, "So congratulations on Deadpool. So now here's what we're going to do, motherfucker. We're going to get heavy metal made. We're going to get this animated anthology shit made because now you got a little clout." Not that David didn't have a lot of clout before, but we really tried hard and couldn't get it done. And so I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm with you. And then just one other brief story. After Deadpool, some other director who had been in animation but was moving into live action said to me at some Academy function, he said, "So now, that you directed Deadpool, you're not going to do any animation anymore." And I'm like, "What? I'm an animator, my friend. Of course I'm going to do animation. I'm just going to hopefully be allowed to do the kind of animation that I always wanted to do, but people just didn't want to hear." And luckily, all of that, getting a little bit of, having people willing to listen to the idea of doing adult animation and having the world ready to see adult animation, at least in the West anyway, all came together at the right time. So that when David Fincher and I went into Netflix and said, "We want to do this show," they said, "Wow, we have no idea if that'll work, but sure, let's go for it." Which was
is that why Netflix was the perfect choice for a show like this?
Yeah, I mean the cynical, the really positive way to say it is that Netflix was in a position where they're like, we just want to do cool stuff, and we're willing to take chances. The cynical way to say it would be David Fincher gets to do whatever he wants because he's David Fincher. But it's kind of both. But they were really, it's really great because you live in this environment of fear a lot of time in Hollywood, and to have somebody go, "Yeah, we're not sure that that's going to work, but let's do it."
Yeah, it's really they really do tend to pigeonhole, which I'm hoping projects like this and you guys' success and the success of other creators that do two things, like a Jordan Peele and comedy, and I hope Hollywood opens up to allowing creatives to be more expressive and to do different things, because you guys are just killing it.
We've definitely had other directors who don't do animation call and say, "Hey, how can I get in on this shit?" So,
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. There's an episode this season called Life Hutch, which features Michael B. Jordan, not only his voice, but also his likeness. And you guys did the same thing last season with an episode called Lucky 13 with the wonderful Samira Wiley. How do you approach these big name actors to come do an animated short story anthology that's only like 10 minutes long?
Well, Samira we were actually, she was recommended to us. I didn't know her, but she was recommended when we were looking for someone to play that role. And we thought she was amazing. First time I saw her, I'm like, oh man, she's amazing. And I had seen Orange is the New Black too. And then, but for Michael, I had known Michael previously. We have a friend in common, so we'd had dinner a few times. He's a really great guy. He just left, in fact. He was here 15 minutes ago.
Oh,
and he's a huge animation fan. And so we were looking at this Life Hutch short, and we thought, I said, we could actually film a real actor here, because so much of the story happens on his face, and he's just laying there on the floor, and it's nonverbal. I'm like, we could do a different technique here and get a performance and mix it in with an otherwise CG set. And so I literally just said, hey, Michael, I got this really cool sci-fi thing called Life Hutch. We need you for one day. Can you do it? He's like, fuck, I'm in. He didn't even read the script when he said,
wow.
I mean, not, of course he read it.
Well, yeah.
But I told him, I gave him literally that much of a pitch. I'm like, it's a cool fucking sci-fi thing. We'll just need one day. And he's like, I'm in.
Awesome.
Which is great.
Awesome.
I love that about him.
Cool. What, Jennifer, what's an episode this season that you're especially excited to see viewer reaction from? Like, do you guys even look at like tweets and Twitter when the show drops? And if so, what's the episode?
I personally don't, but I know a lot of people do. I think it's really fun that we have a variety of stuff and everybody has their own favorites. But I love having a stop motion piece because we didn't have one last time. I love having the 2D pieces, but I also love the fact that, like the Michael B one, a lot of people thought that's literally live action, all of it. I mean, as much as an animated piece. So for me, I think everyone has their own favorite. Everyone has something that appeals to them. And that's the fun part to sort of see.
Awesome.
There's definitely some ones in this season where I'm eager to see. Like the one I directed is, I don't know how people are going to take it.
I don't know if they'll realize that you directed it because it's so not what you'd expect from Tim Miller.
But forget about me for a second. It just, will people like it? Will people that like automated customer service or Life Hutch like The Drowned Giant? It's pretty hard for me to explain why I love that story so much. I don't have a good, it's not normally the kind of stuff I love, but fuck, I love that story.
But it's also because each one's so short, it's a small, concentrated experience. And the sort of the friction of having such different tones between these episodes is part of what makes each one unique. Mm-hmm. I think that your short is a different experience seeing that next to the super stupid ones. So it's like
the Santa Claus, it looks like a ball sack.
It's like, going to a spa, you jump in the cold water, jump in the hot water, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That episode, I with the Santa Claus, by the time I got to the end, I thought, well, what would happen if they weren't good? And then bam. I was like, that was great. So you guys have such like amazing careers, Jennifer, with Kung Fu Panda movies and everything you've done. You've been in Time magazine. You're like a big deal. You are so humble, but you are such a big deal.
I didn't know you were in Time.
That's humble, right?
And the whole thing you were saying about animation not getting respect.
Right.
We're just happy to be let out of our rooms.
Yeah.
That's all we're glad about.
Yeah. And then and you Tim, you have so much going on too. I think you have Sonic coming up and all these other great projects, and you guys are like such big deals. But what kind of advice would you give to, say, maybe indie creators coming up in the industry behind you, whether it be in animation, live action, or whatever?
The world's open right now. I think that there's so much opportunity for very specific and pure visions, that people are looking for that sort of geek joy purity. People are not trying to do things that please everyone. It's about finding the thing that rapidly pleases somebody. So for indies especially, I think this is a huge opportunity time.
I would just say, stay in the game. I as at this time in the world right now, everybody feels like it's hard to get a chance to do something if you're not the right color or the right ethnicity or the right sexual orientation, and I feel like it's the doors are opening up for everybody to get a chance if they just stick it out, right? If you get refused once, don't quit, just keep going. If you think you don't get an opportunity because of some thing about you, don't let it stop you. Just keep trying, and you'll get your chance. I heard 1,000 no's before I heard a yes, and I'm probably one of the luckiest guys out there. But you just show up, and eventually you'll get a chance.
Okay, awesome. And very last question, because I know you guys are so busy today. What, for anyone who say is not an anime fan or is not a sci-fi fan or has someone like that in their life, what would be an episode that you would suggest they watch this season as an entry point into the show?
Try automated customer service. I mean, it's got a little dog with a really bad haircut.
Come on, John. If you're not an animation fan, it looks like live action. It's not sci-fi. John.
If you want to watch something funny, automated customer service. If you want to have like a balm for the soul, that would be
deep philosophical
Drown
experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Great work this season. I hope there's many more seasons to come. This was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.